what I say, the from 8 till 13 is to be perfect in the technical aspects, the first touch, the passing. From 13 is start with the cooperation between the players. From 14 it's cooperation between the lines, the defense and the midfield, or the midfield and the attackers. From 14 it's midfield, all three lines work together. From 16 it's almost like normal football, and you have to make it perfect to improve this. So it's from individual development within the team. But always the player is central, not the team. Because I say a lot to the coaches, okay, you're champion with U19. Very good. But how many players are in the first team? 0. So did you do a good job or what? It's not about me as a coach, it's about the player. When you're coach of the first team, okay, it's your job. If you lose, you get fired. So you can be more focused on yourself and the team and the results. But if you are a coach in the youth, you are not important. The player is important because they want to have a career. You had your career. You're not Mourinho. You're not whatever you want, Louis van Gaal or... No, you're for the player. You have to be there for the player.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
So hello, a very warm welcome to VAR Show, the show which goes around all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to go into interviews, and we have former FC Groningen midfielder, and also he played for a lot of teams and also managed a lot of teams. We have Mr. Jarni Koorman with us. So without wasting much time, I would like to first thank Marco for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing these days?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm healthy. Happy to work in Saudi Arabia at Ittihad. It's a very big club in Saudi Arabia. And there I'm head of coaching. That will say I'm responsible for the technical and tactical part of all the players. And also education of the coaches. And beside that I'm the coach of U17. This is my own team. So this is basically my job in Ittihad.
Of course, I wanted to ask you on that, you have also been involved in various capacities in coaching in Europe, especially in Netherlands, and now you're also here. What is the biggest difference or cultural difference you see between the two?
Yeah, one big difference is the structure and the mentality of football. In Europe, we have a structured program from U8 till U21 to reach them to the first team. And I noticed in other countries that it's more, the team is important, we have to win with U15 and then we are happy. But in Holland, it's more the individual education of the player. The player must become better. Then the team becomes better, but it's important to get one player or two players to the first team to get professional footballer. This is a big difference.
Of course, and staying with same theme, you said, you're also involved in the technical aspects, and you have worked with a lot of the youth here also, and also in Holland, you're with the youth teams. How much do you have to change your ideology, maybe what you are using in Holland to what you're using here? Do you have to change? Because of course in Holland the football has been there for quite a while, and players have developed accordingly, and here maybe football is relatively new. So how do you have to adapt yourself?
Yeah, there is one goal that you want to reach, and there is a certain program to it, but you have to adapt to the philosophy of the cultural things of the country. You have to take notice of that. So step by step, you try to build a structure, you teach them, you cannot go too fast. Like in Saudi, the praying, the faith is a big, so you have to respect that. You have to respect the culture of the country, but also you have to teach them the rules of professional football, and you're gonna mix that. But it's very important that you stay with the culture of the country. You cannot change that. You don't want to change that. But there are rules to become a good football player, in lifestyle, in I always say you have to make a tailor-made program for each age group. The most difficult is here they treat a player of 13 the same like a player of 16 or 18. But it's totally different person, and you have to teach them, okay, you're not the coach of the first team, you're a coach of 8-year-old boys. And what is the age characteristic from this player, and then you can start.
Of course, and like you said, you're working at Ittihad, and which is one of the biggest clubs in Saudi and also one of the big clubs in Asia. How is the infrastructure generally in Saudi? In terms of youth football, how is the structure?
We play from U13 in the league. It's a national league. So you play all through Saudi Arabia. You go by plane to Dammam, to Riyadh. So it's a lot of traveling, but there is a structured competition from U13.
Of course, and like another thing that will, of course, have affected you is the climate. Like Netherlands is generally cool, and your training would have been similar. And now you're in Saudi, which is kind of hot. So how do you like structure your program? Do you have to change according to that?
I like to go to the level of training in Europe, but you have to take notice that it's 40 plus degrees. So I try to do the intensity as high as possible, but maybe you do 20 minutes exercise in Europe. Now you do a little less. You have a little more rest to drink, to hydrate yourself. But I try to keep the same intensity. It's very important.
So like staying with similar theme, like you are with the U17 now, and also with the education of coaches and technical aspects. What is your goal that you want to achieve when you are there?
With the coaches, or
like as a whole, like what do you plan, like when you are there, what do you want to achieve there?
What I try to achieve that the coaches are aware of the age they play, they gonna train. So they have to make what can you expect from a child of 14 or 15? For example, if you're 15, the puberty starting, so they react like a certain ways. And if you think, oh, I want to do this, and they react, you have to keep in mind, this is puberty, okay, this I can accept, that you have to teach. With 8 years, you cannot do the same. The philosophy is the same, but the exercise must be adjusted to the age you are. If you do a passing game, the distance from 8 years is smaller. The stations from 15 are more. You can do 5-6 passes. With 8 you do 2 passes. So we have to teach the coaches, be aware what the children can do, what you can expect from this child, and what can you teach him.
Of course, and like I wanted to ask you another thing, that the very important part I feel is youth football, and you need to get talents in, like local talents. Like how is the scouting there? Like how, do you all scout? And if you all scout, how is the talent available, like that you're scouting from? Is it good? What is the level of how many people are interested?
And Saudi football is a big part of the life, so there are a lot of players. The scouting is not structured very well at this moment, so you have to. Now it's more okay. I know this player is a friend of a friend of a friend, but you are a professional club, so you have to have quality, not quantity, but quality. And I think the level in the small children, it's the same everywhere. I worked in Kazakhstan, in Europe, in Cyprus, in a lot of countries I worked. The basic skills, almost everywhere the same. But the older you get, the level is going down. This is because of education, because of lifestyle, of a lot of things. But I think the potential is very good.
Of course, and again, another thing I wanted to ask is like, suppose when you are selecting or scouting a player, what do you look for in the player?
Scouting is very difficult at a young age. You try to look to the potential in a few years. It's very easy to see a game and there is one big guy, he's bigger than the rest, so he's stronger than anybody else. He cannot play football because he's strong, he wins every game. And I noticed in a lot of countries, okay, they pick that boy. But I always tell him, what happens if he comes in U16 and the boys are even as big? So you try to this is the difficult part. What is his potential in a few years? How is his technique? How do he see the game? Or you have to measure his body, how big he will get, or is he fast? Or so it's more about potential than actually what you see at the moment with young kids.
Of course, and I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what is the most important thing while developing a young player? How do you facilitate him towards being a main team player? Like, what should a coach focus on?
The coach must, especially with the young children, he must focus on what he see, not what he want to see. Because of scouting, I see a lot of scouts. Okay, they gonna see and they write down, and the guy is attacking. Okay, not so good, but I make him as a defender. He's very good in attack, but he don't want to. I teach him. No, you have to look at his behavior. What does he do? Because mostly what you do is what you like. Don't change the player. Maybe this is the most important. Don't change the player, but develop him.
Of course, and the other thing I wanted to ask you is you have been involved in coaching for a while, and as a coach, what is your footballing philosophy? Like, how do you like football to be played?
Yeah, I like to be dominant. I like to have the ball, because I think you start playing football because you like the ball. So I try to play combination football, but it also depends of the player you have. If you have very fast players, you can play a different kind. So the older I get, the ages I get, the more I try to fix my philosophy to the player's quality. And I think this is in youth football also very important, because they have to develop themselves in the strength. A lot of coaches, they think, oh, this is good, this is not so good, I have to improve this. But if you are 8 till 16 and every day you get to hear, oh, improve your bed. In 10 years you don't like football. But if I tell you, you are very good in interview, make this better because you like it, then you are motivated to, and the bad things will come at the same time. But don't get too much attention on the bad things. Give attention to the good things of the player.
Of course, and again.
And the older they get, it's gonna be changed, because if you're 18, you almost must be professional. Okay, now you have to. So it's it's going like this.
Of course, and staying with same thing again. My next question is again similar, and it depends, like you said, on the players you have and maybe different surrounding. But if ideally, what is your favorite formation? Like, what you want to play? Like, of course, it depends on the players you have and the team you have. But what do you like?
I like, okay, we are in Holland, and we are educated in 1-4-3-3, 4 defenders, 3 midfielders, and there are 2 attacking midfielders. So I like to play with a number 6 and 2 attacking midfielders and 3 wingers. This is what I like, because in my philosophy, the positioning on the game, every position is being, how do you call it, set. You can play always triangles on the whole field. If you play 4-4-2,
You can interchange.
yeah, it's a different kind of football. It's more like running, and if you play 4-3-3, you can make triangles, you can pass, there's a lot of variation in it, and you can change quickly to 4-4-2 or 4. It's if you play 4-4-3 with 2 wide wingers, okay, it's 4-3-3. If you put him a little back, it's 4-5-1. So there's a lot of variation in it.
Of course, and since you are like involved in maybe the coaching technical aspect, like when you are coaching a youth team, do you coach them the formation wise, or how do you develop the players? Like, or when do you actually teach players to play in formation?
From 8 till 12, it's 90% of tactics, of technique, how to play the ball, first touch, passing, dribbling, sprinting. So it's only 10%. Okay, you stay there on the field, but you let them free. If they go back, so you can see what it is. From 13, you start to work the tactics. But it's in basic, it's not in detail. We play 4-3-3, you're gonna stand there, and they try to cooperate, because if you are 8-year-olds, it's only me and the ball. So how can I teach you to cooperate with your friend? If you're 10, okay, hey, there is my friend, I'm not alone on the field, maybe I can give him the ball. And if you're 13, you can see 5, 6, 7 peoples. You understand? So in 14, you have to cooperate as a team, and this is what you teach.
Of course, and on your personal preference, what do you like to implement? Zonal marking or man marking in while setting up your defense?
Zone.
But isn't that more difficult to maybe implement, with the players?
Yes, of course. But in my philosophy, it's difficult I divide the field in 3 zones. So the first, from the goal to about 30 meters, it's zone 1, zone 2 is the midfield, zone 3 is attack. And from there you get them, hey, this is where I am on the field. It's more easy to teach them, hey, this is my space where I have to play football. In zone 3 and zone 2, okay, we play zone. In zone 1, it's man-to-man, because if you lose there, it's a goal. But the advantage is for zone is you force them to think. If you play man-to-man, you don't have to think, you have to follow him. So if you play all years, every year man-to-man, okay, you have only one job. This is my man, I follow him. If you go to the bathroom, I go. If you go left, I go left. If you teach them, and they will make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but I don't mind. But if you teach them zone, okay, now I have to do that. My opponent go there. Do I follow him, or is it for my friend? So it's more, you use your head, and I think you learn the most.
So again, I wanted to ask you something on that. Like you said, like till 12, you do not. It's more like technical for kids, like just more of the time with the ball. So this zonal concept, when do you bring about, like in kids? When do you put or start training them?
from 12 years old, 12, 13 years old. There you start the basics, but you cannot teach them in 11. You have to teach them in an individual way. So I have exercises where, I cannot show you. Maybe one of the things in zone is if you press the ball, you have to be covered in the back. So you make an exercise with two people, one press the ball, the other one comes in the back. Okay, the ball goes left, he press, he go inside. So now you see, this is a very easy way to teach them the basic principle of zone defense. If they know this, you do it with 3 people. So you have 3 people in the line, 3 back, 1 press, the 2, and then you do it with 4, and then you do it with 5, and then you do it with 6. So you start always in very small amount of players. And if they know it, you do an extra player. And if they know this, you add an extra player. So you start with the basic principles of zone defense.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you another thing. Like, you have been a very successful player, like in your playing days, and you're like, did you always want to become or get into coaching, or was it something that happened spontaneous in your career?
Yeah, there's something that happens because when you're young, you only think about football and you think I'm gonna play football for 60 years. I don't think of the future. But the older you get, the more experience you get. When you start playing football, you are the youngest, so you get treated by the coaches, and you don't think, okay, this is good or this is bad. But when you get older, you think, oh, this coach did very good. And this coach, I don't like. This, I should do it different. So you get older as a player and there come new young players. You start to speak with them. Okay, hey, don't listen to this at the coach, do your own thing, or this is good for them. So you started to develop your own philosophy. And then I was 28, I got an injury. I stopped playing football. Now, the one thing you love is football, so then you get kids. I started to train my own kid. Hey, I like this. So you are asked for a professional club, so you grow. From my side, I grew into it.
Of course, and you're like you said, like you grew into the coaching role. And do you have any particular coach that you look up to or you take inspiration from?
Yeah, when I was youth international, I played with Dick Advocaat and Leo Beenhakker. They were a perfect mix of friend of the player and boss of the player. So in the training, they are very tough. Outside, they act like your friend. So the mix of that, I think, of course, Advocaat was tactically very good. But I learned the most of them how to deal with players. You cannot be always the boss. And you cannot always be the friend. So you have to live between those two worlds.
Of course, and staying with similar theme, like you have so much experience, in maybe playing and also managing, and if you had to give a piece of advice to a young coach who's just starting out, what advice would you give that coach?
Be interested in the age of the player. You have your own philosophy, but be aware if I'm the coach of you 13 or 19. And develop a strategy how to reach to the level of U19. But it takes few years. Don't do it all at once.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, you are continuously mentioning how you should have clear goals, like U13, U6, U8, whatever, you should have different goals. Yeah. According to you, what are the goals? Maybe do you have a plan where you say, okay, U6 do this, U8 do this, U10 do this? Yeah. Could you share that? If you could say me, what should be the goal for each level?
Okay. What I say, from 8 till 13 is to be perfect in the technique aspects, the first touch, the passing. From 13 is start with the cooperation between the players. From 14 it's cooperation between the lines, the defense and the midfield, or the midfield and the attackers. From 14 it's midfield, all three lines work together. From 16 it's almost like normal football, and you have to make it perfect to improve this. So it's from individual development within the team. But always the player is central, not the team. Because I say a lot to the coaches, okay, you're champion with U19. Very good. But how many players are in the first team? 0. So did you do a good job or what? It's not about me as a coach, it's about the player. When you're coach of the first team, okay, it's your job. If you lose, you get fired. So you can be more focused on yourself and the team and the results. But if you are a coach in the youth, you are not important. The player is important because they want to have a career. You had your career. You're not Mourinho. You're not whatever you want, Louis van Gaal, or no, you're for the player. You have to be there for the player.
Of course, and on that note, I'll ask you one final question, Marco, and this is like quite a controversial question. If you had to choose one of these two, whom would you choose, Ronaldo or Messi?
Ronaldo or Messi?
Yeah.
What do you think in my answers?
I don't know. You might say so. I don't know.
Messi. No doubt about it.
Why
No
so?
doubt. Why? No, it's not. This is not a fair question because Messi has everything gifted from God. He is so talented. He has a good technique. He is strong. He can score. He can pass. He can. So this is a natural talent. But Ronaldo is also talent, but his mentality is so good. So you cannot choose because I have respect for both of them. If you ask me my favorite player, it's Iniesta. Iniesta for me is everything what football is. He loves the game, his technique is very good, he's a team player, this is my favorite kind of player. But also I would like to have Ramos in the team. So you see there is not one particularly good. But Messi is the best of the world. So no doubt about it.
Definitely. And on that note, Marco, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best with your endeavors, with Ittihad. Hope you can produce a lot of players and also educate the coaches, and hope we can talk again soon. Thank you so much for coming. Take care, stay safe.
Maybe one thing you asked me about advice to the coaches.
Yeah.
If you want to build a career as a coach, start with the young kids and do every age 1 year. So you know the difference between the ages, what you can involve. It makes you a better coach. You have to find a way to teach the player, and you get experience from every age. And you can use it in every team if you be first team coach, but take 5-6 years to get experience in every age. This is one of the most important things for a coach, I think.
Hopefully, and of course that would be very helpful to many coaches. And thank you once again, Marco, for coming, and I wish you all the best. Take care, stay safe, bye.
Thank you.
Player-wise, it would have to be Steven Gerrard, just because again before he became a journalist, he was someone I just admired massively in terms of the absolute complete footballer. I think if you were trying to make a footballer in a factory, it would be Steven Gerrard, someone who, I think JB Carragher summed it up best once when he said, Steven Gerrard's biggest strength is he doesn't have any weaknesses.
The stadium. I don't see really need to do that. Mainly such a a big spending. But it's true that it would be a fantastic stadium. That's not bad, but you have to be careful, and mainly at this moment when we are going to face a very difficult time.